In Riff Raff, Ed Harris plays a retired organized crime member. He used to be a hitman for his organized crime unit. He's retired and lives with his wife, played by Gabrielle Union, and his stepson, played by Miles J. Harvey. Ed Harris is spending his Christmas holiday with his wife and stepson in a cabin, in a holiday home cabin in the woods, and suddenly in the middle of the night, his son from his previous marriage with Jennifer Coolidge, his ex-wife, and his son's very pregnant girlfriend turn up in the middle of the night just to spend a surprise visit. We discover that his son, played by Lewis Pullman, has killed a former organized crime member, and they are on the run. Lewis Pullman, he drugged his mother, played by Jennifer Coolidge, and dragged her along just so she is not in danger. And now Ed Harris and his son have to come up with a way to not be discovered in their cabin. Meanwhile, the organized crime member who was killed, his father, played by Bill Murray, and his partner, played by Pete Davidson, are now traveling across the America trying to find Ed Harris and his son so they can exact revenge. Riff Raff is directed by Dito Montiel, who has directed films such as A Guide to Recognizing Your Saints, Fighting, and The Clapper. Riff Raff definitely has a few nice ingredients. It's quite amusing sometimes and very engaging sometimes, but also a very frustrating experience. I think the first half of the film is much stronger than the second half of the film. The second half of the film starts to fall apart, and a lot of the interesting characters are put to the side. The film just focuses far too much on this son, Lewis Pullman character, and his girlfriend. We see a lot of backstory and why they're in trouble, and been focusing too much on them. They're not very interesting characters, and the most interesting characters in the film are kind of put to the side. And the main character in the film, Ed Harris, we don't really learn much about him. He's just with his new wife, Gabrielle Union, and his stepson, and we don't really know much about him. We do find out more about him towards the end of the film when Bill Murray, his former partner, reveals more details about his history, but most of the film is a bit of an enigma. I'll just go through the cast because this cast is pretty stacked. Ed Harris, he's okay, but he doesn't really get much to do because his character is very undeveloped. Gabrielle Union, same, and the stepson, Miles J. Harvey. Gabrielle Union and Miles J. Harvey, they feel like they're from a different movie. The characters are quite different to everybody else. But the highlights in this film are probably Jennifer Coolidge, Bill Murray, and Pete Davidson. Jennifer Coolidge, she plays the ex-wife and mother of the stepson. She's fantastic in this movie. She kind of plays like a slow version of the characters she's played before, but she's very self-aware of who she is. She's very quick-witted, and she knows who she is, and she knows how to. Has no filter. She will say anything that's on her mind. She has a very vulgar mouth, and she's hilarious in this movie. She's definitely the highlight of this movie. And I really liked Bill Murray and Pete Davidson as these kind of like sort of hitman, organized crime members trying to find Ed Harris and Lewis Pullman. But unfortunately, they're not in the film very much. Like we'll see like a short scene of them for about a few minutes trying to going into like a gas station or a supermarket or something, just buying something on the road, because they spend most of the film on the road trying to find Ed Harris. But they'll appear for like a few minutes, and then suddenly they'll disappear for half an hour, and then we'll come back to them. But everything they have in the film is quite good. But I just wish they were in the film more. But they do show up a lot at the end of the film. But because we don't get to know much about them because their characters are so undeveloped, we don't really fear them, because at the end of the film, they break into the cabin house to confront Ed Harris and his son and everybody else, but we don't really fear them because the characters are undeveloped, and it just doesn't have the effect as it should. And the final, like maybe 20 minutes of the film, doesn't really have the effect or that I guess they were intending. Like the Bill Murray and Davidson, they break into the cabin and they like shootings and arguments and fighting, and Bill Murray like doing monologues of like intellectual monologues, but it just none of it comes off as very witty or strong or very engaging. It comes off like a bit of a whimper. Especially in the first half of the film, the script is the dialogue in the film is very, very nice. Like, I love the characters have a nice back and forth with each other. There's some nice one-liners in the film. So especially in the first half of the film is very, very well written. But visually, this film is very bland. Like it doesn't shine off the screen, and it uses like shaky handheld camera, just bounces up and down, and visually, like the locations in the cabin and the woods and on the road, they're nice locations, but they're just not utilized very well. I give Riff Raff 2.5 stars out of 5. Mainly in the first half of the film, this is quite engaging and very funny, especially mainly thanks to Jennifer Coolidge and a few of the other characters who have some nice dialogue and back and forth with each other, like Bill Murray and Pete Davidson. But unfortunately, in the second half of the film, this kind of falls off the rails. It focuses too much on the stepson and his pregnant girlfriend character, their backstory, and a lot of the most interesting characters are put to the side, and the final showdown at the end of the film doesn't really have much of an impact. So this was a little bit of a disappointing film despite the stacked cast. Thanks for watching. What did you think of Riff Raff? Please comment below what you thought of the film. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.